What's up everybody, I'm Key the Gamer and welcome to my top 10 video games of all time. I decided to make this video because this will probably be the first video on my channel, and what better way to get to know me than know some of my favorite games, and then maybe it'll give you an idea of what you will see on this channel in terms of video games and other stuff that I might do. But without further ado, let's jump right into the top 10 list.
Number 10 goes to Borderlands 2, and I love everything about this game. I'm a big fan of looter shooter genres in general, and Borderlands does it perfectly while also doing so much more. Between the thousands of guns you get or the builds for your characters, the customization in this game is, to me, just perfect. I just really love farming and grinding for guns and fighting some of the fun bosses over and over just to see what new weapons I can get. Farming in this game, it just never gets old to me. Another thing this game does well is its story and the cast of characters, some of my favorites being Torg, who likes explosions, or Tiny Tina, and probably one of the best villains in video game history, Handsome Jet. But I think my most favorite thing about this game has to be the exploration. The locations you explore in this game are just so unique and interesting, and you even get to see how some of the places from Borderlands 1 have changed, like Firestone. This game is just all around perfect to me, and that's why I put it at number 10 on my list. Oh yeah, and the slot machines. I might have been a little addicted to the slot machines. But that's beside the point. Number 9 goes to Ghost of Tsushima, and this one was a little weird for me because I'm usually not a big fan of open world games, but this one just stands out to me, and I couldn't stop playing it until I finished it. I really like all the little stuff you can find, like the haikus and the bamboo strikes, but it can get a little repetitive sometimes since there is so many. Although the combat, on the other hand, that never gets old. I feel like you're always learning new abilities, whether it be with your sword, bow, or even some of the random stuff you learn, like shooting poison darts. I thought that was really cool. And I feel like you're always learning new abilities too, which gives you more ways to play. Like the ghost mode, where everything slows down and like you can one-shot the enemies. I thought that was really cool. Like, I really like the stuff like that. Another thing I really like about this game too is the customization. Being able to like dress up your character, making him look more like a ninja or more like a samurai. I always go with the ninjas though, even though I suck at stealth. Plus, I personally think ninjas look way cooler than samurais. Don't hate me. But I think where this game really excels is its story. The story is what kept me so invested in this game, and I'm not just the main story, but the side stories as well, like some of the extra characters that you meet along the way. Like, you can learn all about their backstory, and it's just so interesting. In at number 8 is Dark Souls 3. This one was a little tough for me because I'm a fan of all the Dark Souls games, but I think 3 stood out the most. This game has some more faster combat similar to Bloodborne, which I definitely prefer, and the variety of weapons you get is actually insane. There are so many weapons that you can get, some of my favorite being the Irithyll Greatsword and the Fume Knight Greatsword, which wasn't easy to get. The levels in this game are also really good, but it was definitely lacking compared to other Souls games, especially since it felt a lot more linear than the other ones. One thing I like a lot about this game is its replayability. Once you beat the game, you can go through it again and it keeps your levels and gear, but each time the difficulty increases, and I think it keeps increasing in difficulty until New Game Plus 7, but then it caps out there. And I can proudly say, I made it to New Game Plus 7, but it only took like 400 hours. But I think the best thing about this game is the bosses. No matter what Souls game, the bosses are always my favorite part, and the Dark Souls 3 bosses are some of the best, especially learning their moves and what their weaknesses are. It's the best part, which is why this game is number 8 for me on my list. Number 7 goes to Kingdom Hearts 2, and I've loved every Kingdom Hearts game. Yes, even the spin-offs. Well, most of them. But 2 has to be my favorite. It does everything the first game does, but 10 times better. For example, better combat, bigger worlds, and even more Keyblades. One of my favorite things about this game is exploring worlds from the previous game and seeing how they've changed, like Halloween Town, for example. In Kingdom Hearts 1, Halloween Town was just the Halloween version of the world, but in Kingdom Hearts 2 you get to explore the Christmas Town, which I thought was really cool. Another big thing I like about this game is all the stuff you can do after you beat it, like finding hidden bosses that are like really tough, by the way. I've only beaten a few. They absolutely just destroy you. And going through all the cups in the Colosseum. And of course I didn't forget about synthesizing the Ultima weapon, which takes a lot of grinding. I also like the little puzzle pieces too, but I think that was exclusive to Final Mix. But I still thought it was really fun, finding the puzzle pieces and then going into your little inventory and putting the puzzles together. I thought that was really cool too. But overall, this game just has so much to do, and I always love coming back to it. Number 6 on my list goes to Paper Mario, and no, not the Thousand Year Door. I'm talking about the original on the N64. This may be not even nostalgia talking, but I love everything about this game. I love the levels, the characters, the story, literally everything. But the thing that stands out the most to me is the fact that everything is made out of paper, and it feels like you're almost going through a pop-up book. This was definitely unique at the time, and I remember seeing it for the first time and being amazed because of how good it looked. Another thing about this game I really like is the game wasn't like a normal Mario platformer. Instead it was a turn-based RPG, and a really unique one too, because the combat had you putting in button commands like pressing A right before you land on an enemy to do a second jump for extra damage. You also have badges which add even more to the combat, like giving you new abilities and new moves to use. These badges also increase your stats, whether it be your HP, BP, or FP. There was just so much variety in the badges, and that's what I loved a lot about it. But overall, this game is nearly perfect to me, and if you haven't played it, I would definitely recommend it, which is why I put it at number 6 on my list. Number 5 on my list goes to Final Fantasy IX. Now, I've always been the biggest Final Fantasy fan, especially in the PS1 era, with 7, 8, and 9, and it was really hard to choose because all of them are so good, but 9 always stood out to me. It has one of the best battle systems and upgrade systems, some goofy and interesting characters, except Demorant. He's just kinda there. And the awesome world filled with fantasy/steampunk locations. First, I want to talk about the battles. In this game, you level up normally from 1 to 100, and you learn abilities by wearing different equipment, and if you want to learn that ability without having to wear something you don't like, you can permanently unlock it after getting the amount of AP you need. So it forces you to use stuff you wouldn't normally use, and you might end up liking something you wouldn't have tried otherwise. And I really like that about this game. Another great thing about this game is its CG cutscenes, and you could go back and play it today and it would look almost like a modern game, and at times it was almost like you were watching a movie. I also really like the soundtrack in this game. I think this one out of all Final Fantasies has one of the best soundtracks. Every single thing, whether it be battle, towns, cutscenes, it all has different music to go along with it, and it was all so good. But I would definitely recommend checking out this classic if you haven't played it yet. You can literally get it on almost any console, so you should definitely go play it, 100%. Alright, we're starting to get into the really good stuff now, but number 4 goes to Tales of Vesperia. Now this one was similar to Final Fantasy IX. I love a lot of the Tales games, and it was hard to choose between just one, but Tales of Vesperia probably beats the rest, just barely. This game has the best story with some crazy twists along the way. Again, I won't spoil it in case no one has played it, but my favorite thing about all Tales games, especially this one, is its battle system. This game is like normal RPG where you level up and all that, but instead of it being turn-based, it's 100% action combat, where you have your basic attacks, and then you learn arts, and you can chain arts together to do even more cool stuff. Then you have mystic arts, which is like the most powerful attacks you can use, and I just love it. This also has a similar system like Final Fantasy IX has, where you learn abilities from the gear you equip. I just really like that system. Another thing I like about this game is the skits, which Tales games have always had, where you party members have conversations with each other, and sometimes it can be very story-related, or other times it can be something completely random and hilarious. You never know what you'll see. But I think the thing that stands out the most for me is the characters. This game has my favorite cast of characters probably ever. The main cast is great, but some of the side characters are just as important. My favorite character has to be Judith. She's pretty awesome. To me, this is probably one of the best RPGs out there, and if you haven't played it, I would definitely recommend it because this game is just so good.
Stupid logo. Yeah, that's better.
Number 3 on my list goes to Conker's Bad Fur Day, specifically the N64 one. This game you play as a squirrel who gets drunk at a bar and runs into a lot of trouble on his way home. That's pretty much the gist of it. I don't think I've ever played a game that has made me laugh as much as this one. This game is just so different than anything I've ever seen or played, and honestly, I don't even know what genre you would put it under. because sometimes it feels like a platformer, but then the next minute you're running around shooting guns or racing. There's just so much going on, it's hard to keep up with, but I'm always entertained. One thing that definitely stands out is the level design. There's just so much variety in the levels. Like 1 minute you're hanging out with cavemen in like old prehistoric looking areas, and then the next you're in space, and then you're eventually even in a World War II type place, I guess. But one of the best things about this game is the soundtrack. It made some awesome music for its time, and I couldn't forget to mention the great Mighty Pooh, who literally sings the whole boss fight about throwing his shit at you. But I don't just love the single player. The multiplayer was also really good, and I have so many memories of staying up all night at a friend's house when I was little, going against each other in the multiplayer. There was just so many different modes, but our favorite one to play was probably the basic deathmatch. Just being able to run around as little teddy bears and squirrels and shooting each other back and forth was just the funnest thing. And I really hope we get to see Conker again someday. But at least we have this game for now, and I definitely recommend playing this one if you haven't. Number 2 on my list goes to Banjo-Kazooie, another game made by Rare, although this time, instead of being a funny, mature game, this is a fun little platformer where you play as a bird and a bear. This is my favorite platformer of all time. I love each and every world, except Clinker's Cavern. Yeah, I suck at swimming in this game. But my favorite worlds are probably being Mad Monsters Mansion and Freezeezy Peak. Exploring these worlds and finding all the collectibles is just so fun and addictive. And something about seeing the 100% in each level is just so satisfying. I also like all the new abilities you learn across your journey, which add new ways to play the game the further you get. This game also has one of the best hub worlds that just connects all the levels. It's probably one of my favorite hub worlds in any game, and I just love exploring it and finding all the little secrets like the Cheetos, which are not like the crackers, but like the little cheating pages. But similar to Conker's Bad Fur Day, this game has one of my favorite soundtracks in any video game. Heck, some of the levels even make me want to bounce up and down in my seat to the songs. I just love it that much. But overall, this game is just a really fun experience to sit down and just kind of relax while playing. It's not too hard, but not too easy also. It's just a really, really fun game. And also, just like Conker, I hope we see Banjo-Kazooie again in future games, because I really miss these guys. Yes, number 1 on my list goes to Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen this one before. But man, where do I even start with this game? To me, this game is literally perfect in every way. I still remember playing this game as a kid for the first time ever and seeing Hyrule Field for the first time and thinking, man, this world is just endless. I love every single area in this game and every single dungeon and temple. Yes, even the water temple. It's not that bad. I will admit though, switching back and forth between the normal boots and the iron boots really sucked. But they did fix that in the 3D version. I also really loved each character and the soundtrack. This game just nails everything for me. And to me, this game is the perfect length. It's not too long, but it's not too short either. And you have your heart pieces and gold skulltulas to collect also after you finish the main story. This game is just so unique with everything it does, and it's just incredible in every way. The combat in this game is super fun too, with all the items at your disposal. Like certain enemies you can stun with your hookshot or Deku Nuts, and then you can take them out with your sword. I also love the puzzles in this game. While not being too hard or complicated, they also aren't too simple either, and sometimes you gotta think a little bit. Another really cool thing is being able to play your ocarina to do certain things, like making it rain or teleporting to outside of some dungeons that you've previously visited. One of my favorite things about this game is the actual time travel mechanic, and being able to play as young Link and seeing the world before being ruined in the future when you play as adult Link. You can definitely tell the darker tone while playing as adult Link in the future. It almost even feels like a different game when you're adult Link, and I really like that. Another thing I really like about this game is the sound effects and the ambience. And yeah, I know it's a little weird, but walking around Hyrule at night and being able to just hear the crows, or going into Lon Lon Ranch and hearing Malon singing Epona's song, these were the little things that stuck with me. But my favorite thing about this game is the dungeons. They are designed so well in this game. I loved each and every one of them. My favorite definitely being the Forest Temple. The soundtrack in the Forest Temple was just perfect. Anyways, I could go on for hours about why I love this game, but I think I've said enough. If you haven't played this game, I 110% recommend it. It's just so great. and that's why it deserves the #1 spot on my top 10 list. Well, there we have it. That was my top 10 list. Do you guys agree with me or disagree? Also, feel free to leave feedback. I'm always looking for ways to improve in my videos and stuff. But yeah, if you guys have enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what some of your top 10 games are. But until then, I will see you guys in the next video.